Alright, this video is going to be about security in your community and the response time from your police department that serves your community, and you can have the right to put down any complaint that you may see or concern you may see that takes place in your community that may have taken place a month ago that you would like to report, just so the police can make note of it so they can know what's transpiring, but to alert the community so they know how to work around the situation in case the situation escalates and gets dangerous or hostile for themselves to the point they may not be comfortable going through that area of the community, but to alert the community themselves. Because when you alert the community residents of certain activity that may feel threatening to you or may make you feel uncomfortable, it's the least the community can do is alert one another so community residents and bystanders are safe for the time being. I want to talk about my situation that I had noticed on October 30th, which I had spoken to Mayor Mike Savage, Councillor David Hinsby, and we had spoken on the phone today about it. And he agreed to some aspect about it. But also this number here you see below here, the Halifax Police or the RCMP, you can call them at any time when you want, and you can bring a concern forward that you'd like to have addressed. Anyways, we're going to bring this concern, what I witnessed on October 30th in downtown Halifax, in this video. And this video will be watched by both RCMP, Halifax Police, and other police agencies, so feel free to contact your police department if you see something illegally taking place in your community or an incident that you would like to report to the police so you may makes you feel more comfortable in your community so the police are aware of it. Anyways, October 30th, the day before Halloween, I was going to Halifax to attend a meeting where I had to go for about around 10 o'clock in the morning on Spring Garden Road. So I first got off the bus around 8:30 at Scotia Square. So I go into Scotia Square, first thing I go is the washroom, do your business, and I sit down for a bit. But when I sat down, I was going through my backpack, and I heard this homeless guy, scream out, "Bang, you're dead." So I looked up. I seen this homeless person with his hand designed as a gun, screaming out, "Bang, you're dead." I looked up at this guy and I said, is this guy all there? Is he playing with a full deck? Does his elevator go to the top floor? Does he have serious problems? Does he not realize that gesture what he just made with his hand when he screamed out to this total stranger who he didn't know, because you can tell when somebody just randomly picks somebody out of a crowd and they go, "Bang, you're dead," screaming at them. I said to myself, does this person not get the idea or the mindset that can be considered a threat? Not only that, Scotia Square is known for bringing problematic people in their facility that got problems. One of the things that I noticed in Scotia Square, you could be sitting there in the morning and see this person walking by with a paranoid look. What are you looking at? You looking at something? You got a problem with something? And top it off, they say this stuff to these strangers who they don't even know. And when this happens, when that event happened with the homeless guy, he screamed out, "Bang, you're dead," with his hand and a gesture of a gun. First thing that I said is, where's the security in the Scotia Square Mall? Why are they not monitoring these incidents as much as what they should be? Why are they taking forever to respond? Why are they not active? Now, just because I didn't see them active doesn't mean that they weren't aware of the incident. They most likely had seen it on their camera. They could have called the Halifax Police, because downtown Halifax is the jurisdiction for the Halifax Police. Now, so I left Scotia Square. I want to go to Grand Parade because they got free internet service. I want to check my voice messages on my smartphone. So I do that. So by then it's about 9 o'clock, 20 to 9, close to it, so I go through Scotia Square, goes to that little tunnel that comes out through the former convention center, and on Argyle Street, and I'll cross the street, and I'll go to Grand Parade. I'll check my messages on their Wi-Fi. So Mayor Mike Savage is there with a group of people attending a small event as they were hoisting up this flag. I have no clue what if it was a country's flag or if it was a group of people's flag. I don't know what the kind of flag was. It was a red flag with a picture of a white anchor. I have no clue what the flag meant. So it was a group of people, small group of people. No, Mike Savage was hoisting up the flag on the pole. So I was off the side checking my voice messages. So when I was done checking my voice message, I said, well, all right, I'll walk towards the tents where the homeless people got their tents on Grand Parade. I said, I'll go there and I'll make my way up to Argyle Street because I was going to go to Spring Guard Road to attend my meeting I had. So I walked up to the tents and walk up the stairs, go to Argyle Street. So this homeless guy starts raving and going and, hollering at Mike Savage. I don't think Mike Savage heard him, or the group of people for that fact. He's cursing and cussing and going on. And I said, but make sure you ruin it all for the rest. Because I said, you know what your problem is? You have no clue of what direction to voice your anger at in the first place. You're hollering, screaming at and cursing at Mike Savage, who has no jurisdiction over the affordable housing situation for starters. You're making a scene. You're making people uncomfortable on Grand Parade. And above all, you're putting everybody who got these tents, they're living there because they got no option. You're putting them at risk of being relocated somewhere else because idiots like you cursing and screaming because you're mad because you feel that the government's not taking your need of affordable housing seriously enough, to the point cursing and cussing, which is understandable. I told him, so what you got to do is go down to the street there, or Province House, and you look across the street from the legislature, you'll see the Premier's office. I believe he's on the third floor. I said, Tim Houston is the person to be raving and going at, not Mayor Mike Savage, because Mayor Mike Savage, is bad enough that he started this homeless battle on his own when he decided to call the police on you guys to have those homeless shelters smashed up, burnt, whatever, so he can get rid of you people, because tourism season was about to begin, and he wants to hide the homeless crisis in Halifax from the tourism season that's about to begin, from the tourists getting off their boats and whatever, how they're getting in Halifax, so he can hide it. That's why he did what he did. I said, I understand that Mike Savage basically picked a battle that he can't win. I said, if you want to do something about it, you vote him out. Because I said, how is it humanly possible for Mike Savage to address poverty, homelessness, not being able to pay a bill, when Mayor Mike Savage is virtually a millionaire? He was brought up on a silver spoon. How is it humanly possible for Mike Savage to mentally address and understand poverty and affordable housing? He can't. All he's going to do is feed his out like he did during the last municipal election, a bunch of fancy talk, be all this fancy stuff, when really he got no plans for nothing. He really doesn't. I mean, if you want to get the city fixed up right, you get rid of Mike Savage and you vote somebody in who's more down to earth of what's going on out in the community around you. Not put this millionaire who's out in left field, because when I worked with Mike Savage's campaign team in 2012, you don't know what Mike Savage's main concern was? Going golfing with his campaign team. That's his main concern, going golfing. And when I look at Mike Savage, he reminds me of Fred Flintstone. That's what he reminds me of, because he had his priorities. Assistant campaign manager Josh Braggs, his father was an MLA for the Liberal Party one time, the Nova Scotia Liberal Party, I should say, at one point. And I remember looking at Josh Braggs and Mike Savage, and it reminded me of Fred Flintstone and Bernie Rubble. That's what it reminded me of, because there were two folks like getting elected, getting that wealthy pension, getting that wealthy paycheck. There's no talk, there's no concern, nor any regard, none whatsoever, for homelessness and affordable housing, because he can't even relate to it. So, like I told this guy, you want to take your frustration out on somebody, you go to Tim Houston, who's very, very out of tune of what's going on around him in the province around him, because he's doing everything in his power to convince Nova Scotians that affordable housing is not in crisis and it's not at the province's top of the list, when really it is, just like healthcare, just like mental health care. Here in the province of Nova Scotia, it's in crisis because you, the people at home, been electing people who should never been elected in the first place. And that's what it comes down to. All you Nova Scotians paid a price because of the wrong people who you've been electing and re-electing throughout the years. So I left Grand Parade, I went up Argyle Street. 5 minutes, if that, apart. I was ready to cross the street to go over to the new convention center. So I observed this homeless guy. He's about 5'11", messy hair. He had a blanket around him. He was asking bystanders, pedestrians, if he can give them money, because for whatever reason, I don't know, I could care less, but he was asking for money. Majority of those people were saying no, because I could tell by their body language they weren't comfortable with this homeless guy around them. He might have been in his late 20s, early 30s, so they said no. So this guy decides to start cursing and screaming at them. This homeless guy was cursing and screaming at the pedestrians walking by. They were highly uncomfortable, and again, posing a risk to people walking by, cursing and cussing, even confronting them face to face. From what I could tell, there's no weapons, nothing on them. That's a good thing. So I left. So I went across the street to the convention center, and I went up to the way to Spring Garden Road. So when I came back, so like around 11:30, I walked back. The homeless guy again on Argyle Street, asking people for money. The same homeless guy in his mid-20s, late early 30s, with a blanket around him, messy hair, about 5'11", asking people for money. And again, they would say no. He's cursing and screaming at them all over again. So when I left downtown Halifax. I remember saying to myself, I'm so glad, I don't go to Halifax very often, because I said, if that's how the security is in downtown Halifax, with no police presence, none whatsoever, I remember saying, I'm so glad that I don't go to Halifax, because I wouldn't want to go there, because from what I could tell going on, it's not a very secure community anymore. Well, not since those tents were there. So I was starting to say, maybe the Halifax police needs to step up their presence, make their presence known in the downtown Halifax community, from Spring Garden Road, Argyle Street, the whole downtown Halifax, where this homelessness is at, because that's where the crime seems to be taking place. Because when you got businesses, when you got people going on with their everyday business in the downtown Halifax here, you got people cursing and screaming, making threats, bang, you're dead, and posing a threat and a risk to people. See, Councillor David Hinsby, Mayor Mike Savage, and the businesses around downtown Halifax got to realize people ain't going to go here no more if they're going to put up with this crap. And I said, what needs to happen is the Halifax police needs to step up their presence and enforce the sanity back in the community. Because here's the thing now, when the Halifax police or any police agency arrests people, they're in poverty, homelessness, I'm going to tell you something. When the police arrest them, it's the best thing that can ever happen to them. Because once they're arrested, they're charged, they're likely charged, and when they're charged, the courts are going to ensure that the services are going to be reached out to them. What do I mean by that? When you're out in the community, if the services are not court ordered, chances are the services are going to pass them off, ignore them, and that will be that. If the services are court ordered by the courts, the services are not allowed to do that. The services has to maintain their risks, report their risk levels back to the courts, and the courts determine where to go from there. They could be sent to the East Coast Forensic Hospital, where you never get out until your risk level is safe. But on the other hand, there's services, unfortunately, that do fail people. And I got to say is, when you're in jail, when you're arrested, I want to tell you something. You're fed well in there. You're fed well. You're housed. You're looked after. You got a shower you can use. You got your own cell thing to yourself. Sometimes you do. And you're actually looked after. So in a way, being arrested for those people is probably the best thing that ever happens to them. Or they're sent, more likely they're sent for a mental assessment, and they're sent to the East Coast Forensic Hospital. But the problem with the East Coast Forensic Hospital is they're often turned away because the East Coast Forensic Hospital is often too small to house the amount of people that comes in and out of his doors, like I said many times before, because the province is not investing money in expanding in the mental hospitals, the East Coast Forensic Hospital, even the Nova Scotia Hospital, for that fact, if they were to fix it up or build a new one somewhere else, But that can be solved. But in my opinion, I don't think Tim Houston or any Nova Scotia government who was elected to power was ever having any intentions of investing the mental health care system at all, let alone the affordable housing crisis. Because in my opinion, this is what I told David Hinsby on the phone. Affordable housing was in crisis 30 years ago, not now, 30 years ago. I said it's being addressed now, just starting to now, is because the government's backs are pinned against the wall and they know that they can't get out of it. Why didn't they address it 30 years ago? Because you, the people at home, let them get away with it. And that is why the government is doing what it's doing. Now, David Hinsby's excuse was, well, the federal government bailed out on the funds when they were funding the affordable housing when they were constructing it for people back in the day. David Hinsby saying that they discontinued with that. That's his story. I gotta say is affordable housing is not being addressed as seriously as what it should be. People living in tents, they shouldn't be living in tents. If they're living in tents, if they're living on city property because they don't want an apartment, that's where the police got to arrest them, court ordered them out of there. But at the same time, when you look at things, now David Hinsby had agreed that the Halifax police needs to step up their presence in the downtown Halifax area by foot. By doing that, like I talked about this guy who was cussing in the direction of Mike Savage, he will more likely think twice with a police officer doing foot patrol. Just like that homeless guy with a blanket around him on Argyle Street. When he asked him for money and he was cursing and cussing at them. He probably think twice with a police officer standing there. So like I said, this video is going to be sent to both RCMP and the Halifax Police, mostly the Halifax Police. And I'm going to ask them to step up their foot patrol in the downtown Halifax area. And I'm going to ask them to make their presence a lot more known than what it already is. Because the community is suffering because of these people. I'm not saying all these people who live in these tents are posing a risk to everybody in the downtown Halifax area. No, a lot of them are not. It's just these odd few bad apples that are doing that. So I'm asking the Halifax police to step up their presence and make their presence known and enforce the sanity back in the community. But for the Scotia Square security, perhaps the Halifax police could ask the security and the Scotia Square Mall to be more active than what they already come across these people. Because like I said in the past, I come across people there, you'll see them all paranoid, all funny, you know, and you're sitting down drinking coffee, and someone looking, who are you looking at? What are you staring at me for? Normally people don't respond like that, because when you're walking through a mall or walking down the road, you're looking around, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to look around, you know, your security, stuff like that. Have a person come out and question that when you're doing your thing. It makes you wonder of their mental status. Are they all there in the head? But anyways, that's my story with the on October 30th in downtown Halifax. But I'm going to ask you at home, is there any parts in your community throughout Nova Scotia that you feel that needs to be addressed that the police are either not proactive on as much as what you think they should be, and what's the response time? That's the thing to be looking at. Because if you're concerned, like with the RCMP, your member of parliament's the one to be addressing that too. The Halifax Police, that's your city councillor or your mayor. But anyways, it's Adam Conrod. I just wanted to do this video about community security in not only downtown Halifax, but throughout our communities throughout Nova Scotia. But anyways, thank you for watching.